once made a promise to myself to try to do something interesting every day, an aspiration to which I still loosely hold but long ago abandoned strict adherence. The practicality of finding an exciting thing to do every day is taxing, especially when you are laden with other responsibilities. When I first entered college, I had to be real with myself and admit that sometimes it's alright to have a bowl of mac and cheese. I would come to renew my childhood vows to mac and cheese when the pandemic hit in full force, putting a delayed end to the streak on my calendar once I finally gave up and stopped counting surviving a global pandemic as interesting every day. Like many, I weathered the initial round of shutdowns without much social contact. Holed up in my room after my college roommate and 95% of the residents in my dorm building had flown the coop, I piled high the cups of deluxe microwave Kraft mac and cheese next to my computer as I finished them between hours-long bouts of Pokemon trading card game online. But recently, the collective exhaustion of preventing life from going on has put a general social pressure on folks to open things up and meet up in person again. Virus be damned. It is by such grace of the shifting social currents that I was able to have a most expenses paid trip to our nation's capital, complete with 5 flights on board the great disease cans in the sky. Surprise, surprise that I should return and test positive for COVID-19. I suppose that's the price we pay nowadays. Luckily, I was well prepared for the occasion, with a stockpile of mac and cheese cups close at hand and an unused but functional drinking fountain right outside my door. The first thing you need to know about cup mac and cheese is that it doesn't come with silverware, or even plasticware for that matter. With this oversight, I rummaged around the room searching for a box of assorted forks and spoons, only to realize I had none. Instead, I found an angular plastic teaspoon I picked up from Walmart in a measuring cup kit for $2 last year. Between a teaspoon pulled out of a box full of junk and actual utensils, the winner's pretty clear. I recommend the latter. But, teaspoon in hand, I dug in. Of course, with cup mac and cheese, there's always the initial heat of the dish as it comes out of the microwave. Scalded tongues are a common defect of life in isolation without real kitchen facilities. You can always wait for it to cool off, and maybe even let some of the leftover water from the microwave evaporate, or settle in, or do whatever it is microwave mac and cheese water does when it is no longer in the bowl. Or you could sit up tall, take a deep breath, and face your destiny like the Kraft family intended. I recommend the latter. The texture is probably familiar to you. Slimy, almost the consistency of mucus, but not in a discomforting way. It is unmistakably that hot cheese of cheap and flippant consumerism, the kind that welcomes you home after a long day working an ungratifying job that would be slowly killing you if the dish weren't already. By the time you've managed to get into the meat of your ponderance of your own existential anomalousness and the grand scale of the universe, the bowl starts to feel a little light. Already you find yourself out of noodles in the cup and you have 2 choices. Let the reality be as it is, or commit to the final act of degeneracy and start scraping the sides for the last millimeters of cheese clinging on for dear life. I, of course, recommend the latter.